and welcome. Tonight, former Senate President Anyim says it is time to convene another national dialogue to address issues of instability in Nigeria. One day after the chaos at its National Working Committee meeting in Abuja, PDP Reconciliation Committee meets with governors from the Northern East region. And U.S. President Donald Trump says the cause of Wednesday's Washington, D.C.'s crash between the plane and a military helicopter is being investigated.
Now in business, Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, sets 25.2 trillion naira revenue target for 2025.
On Sports News tonight, Bayern Leverkusen director confirms Nigeria's international Victor Boniface is back in training at the club as Saudi Arabia's Al Nasri deal is off.
And from Abuja, the nation's capital, Nigeria Immigration Service intercepts 21 minors that are being illegally taken out of the country through Magama local government area of Niger State.
It is time to bring the various ethnic groups in the country together to discuss issues that are threatening the unity of the country. And that's according to the former Senate President, Anyim. Senator Anyim, who was speaking at a book launch in Abuja today, says apart from the Constitutional Conference of 2006 and the 2014 confab, no other structured effort has been made to resolve the issues of instability in the Nigerian polity. He believes it is time to have another national dialogue to address some of these issues. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
Thank you so much.
Political gladiators under the Inter-Party Advisory Council convened to discuss some of the issues impacting political development in Nigeria.
CUPP.
Nigeria's political scene dates back to the pre-colonial era, and Nigeria is currently experiencing the longest democratic dispensation. The conversation here focuses on factors that have inhibited the development of the nation's political journey.
Today, as we gather to celebrate the centenary activities of political parties in Nigeria, we pay tribute to the visionaries, the leaders, and the citizens who have contributed to the growth and development of our democracy. It is a reflection of the trials, the triumphs, the challenges and achievements that have shaped our political landscape over the past century.
Some of the issues identified as being at the root of the lingering problems of national instability, leading to a high level of insecurity, include economic regression and the heavy burden of maladministration, corruption, nepotism, among others.
Our democracy has been tested and shaken by reactionary forces, and they have survived. This, therefore, is a testament to Nigerians' belief and resilience in representative governance. In this regard, it has become necessary to explore the process for the development of political parties in Nigeria.
No democracy is perfect. It is a continuous journey of reform and improvement. As an electoral management body, INEC is committed to ensuring that our electoral process remain credible, transparent, and inclusive.
Before now, there were efforts to address some of these issues, and the former president of the Senate believes there should be sincere dialogue.
The incontrovertible fact that in any heterogeneous or plural country of similar complexity as Nigeria, the need for national dialogue and minimum consensus on the terms of the Union cannot be ignored or overemphasized. It behoves this generation of leaders and elites to establish that dialogue and reach that consensus that Nigeria sorely needs to rid itself and her component parts of the mutual suspicion, distrust, and antagonism that have retarded her growth into the stable nation and contending global power she has every potential to be.
To preserve Nigeria as a stable nation, stakeholders here stress the need to overcome mutual distrust and suspicion, called on political parties to embrace internal democracy and prioritize national unity over ethnic interest. Benny Ark for Channels Television News.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, says the bank will continue to make bold policies to consolidate on the gains on the progress made in its monetary policy decisions. He stated this at the bank's Monetary Policy Forum in Abuja. The Apex Bank boss also adds that the committee will remain vigilant and proactive in its decisions as inflation remains a concern, rising to about 34.8% as of December 2024.
The Monetary Policy Forum is bringing together top government officials, members of the private sector, as well as international finance organizations to brainstorm on maintaining a convergence of both monetary and fiscal policies. The meeting, which is the first since 2006, is themed Managing Disinflation Process, a term used to describe occasions when the inflation rate reduces marginally over a short-term period.
Central banks must exercise caution when deploying monetary policy tools in order not to undermine economic recovery. But fiscal policy also needs to complement monetary efforts in mitigating the risks of disinflation without triggering deflationary pressures through targeted investments and strategic reforms.
Inflation rate rose for the fourth straight month, hitting a near 30-year high of 34.8% in December 2024, up from 34.6% in the prior month. Food inflation, which constitutes more than 50% of Nigeria's inflation basket, eased to 39.84% in December from 39.93% the month before. Christmas spending and demand for energy sources are attributed as some of the reasons for the rise. However, the central bank believes its monetary policy interventions are yielding results.
Inflation targeting is a journey. Not all doesn't happen with a wave of a wand, no matter how potent that wand may be. It's a journey. And talking about it and putting it out there is part of that journey. And for it to be successful, it needs serious collaboration between the fiscal and the monetary side. But it is a journey.
There were words of support from members of the fiscal authorities.
On the fiscal side, we believe there is still need to pay attention to how we can invest in that elasticity so that we don't miss the point. And especially as we are making security gains. Somebody earlier spoke about food prices coming down, and they are coming, but more they are coming largely because of security gains.
The expectation is that actionable decisions will be taken to further strengthen monetary policies for improved economic performance.
Vice President Kashim Shettima says the current administration is committed to empowering women as part of its national development agenda. The Vice President, who was speaking at the beginning of a two-day gender inclusion conference in Abuja, notes that women must be at the forefront of Africa's economy, which is projected to hit $29 trillion by the year 2050. Our State House correspondent Empress Simon reports.
This conference with Vice President Kashim Shettima in attendance is the inaugural event for the Gender Initiative of the ASUA Accord, signed in April 2024, to address disparities in the economic and financial inclusion of women and youth.
Studies have shown that if women participated equally in Nigeria's economy, our GDP could grow by an estimated 23%.
Education, technology, and entrepreneurship hold the key to a brighter future.
Available statistics show only half of Nigerian women are in the labor force, with 10% managing resources and over 32 million without access to banking. Less than 4% of elective positions in the country are occupied by women. 30% of adult women remain financially excluded, and only 16% can gain access to credit facilities for further businesses. However, the federal and state governments have plans to empower more women.
Based on our strategic roadmap, our goal is to empower 10 million women to contribute to the $1 trillion economy ambition of this administration.
So far, 10,796 women have benefited from our 500 million Kaduna State Women Economic Empowerment Funds.
Our administration is making a deliberate effort to empower women at all levels.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, also assures of the judiciary's commitment to reinforce legal frameworks that ensure women inclusion.
I reaffirm our unwavering commitment to upholding the principles of justice and equity. We will continue to play our part in fostering a legal environment that promotes and supports the inclusion and empowerment of women.
For Vice President Shatima, the true measure of a country's growth lies in how it treats its women.
Our commitment to gender inclusion is not a cosmetic performance to placate the sensibilities of progressives. It is a fundamental pillar of our national development agenda. We are not just assuring the women of Nigeria of their place in our collective journey. We are creating the pathways for them to lead the charge. Gender exclusion has nothing to do with religion.
The Vice President goes on to unveil the She's Included initiative, a project that is expected to reach the 774 local government areas of the country. The Vice President also inspects exhibition stands at the venue, where he expresses delights at the level of innovation on display. From the banquet hall of the State House, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
The Nigerian Immigration Service has intercepted 21 minors suspected to be victims of human trafficking at Gaidam near the Nigeria-Niger border. The controller of the Nigerian Immigration Service in the state, Sani Sule Jega, while handing over the suspected victims to the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, says the children are between the ages of 7 and 15. He further explains that the minors are being transported from Magama local government area of Niger State to Niger Republic for studies and do not have any travel documents.
Intended traveling to Niger Republic, but they were intercepted by our officers at the border outpost unit in the area around Gaidam. The purpose of that particular unit is to checkmate all illegal entry into the country, because our core mandate is border security and migration management. So any illegal crossing will be stopped immediately until the right thing is done before a migrant cross over the shore of Nigeria to another destinations. As it is, they are migrants from Niger State, precisely Magamalo Hogame area, and they are minors between the age of 7 to 15. They are traveling without travel documents and other supporting documents to back up their journey. On that basis, we suspect the right thing must be done before they cross over. In view of the above, we decided to hand over to the appropriate authority for further investigation and necessary action.
In part 2, after the break, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu launches an initiative to end HIV and syphilis among women and children. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Former Senate President Anyim Pius Anyim says it is time for another convening a national dialogue to address issues of instability in Nigeria. A day after the chaos at its National Working Committee meeting in Abuja, PDP Reconciliation Committee meets with the governors of the Northeast region. Vice President Kashim Shettima says the federal government is committed to empowering Nigerian women as he flags off a gender inclusion conference in the nation's capital. And U.S. President Donald Trump says the cause of Wednesday's crash between a plane and a military helicopter in Washington, D.C. is being investigated. The wife of the president, Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu, has launched a Free to Shine campaign, an initiative of the Organization of African First Ladies aimed at mobilizing support to end new HIV infections and protect children and women. Mrs. Tinubu, who launched the campaign at the end of her 3-day visit to Kwara State, says the campaign is designed to significantly reduce the number of new HIV and other infections among women of reproductive age, prevent mother-to-child transmission, and guarantee that every child born with HIV receives the necessary treatment and support to thrive.
The Free to Shine campaign launch for the North Central is taking place in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital.
After that, kids were given Nigeria.
Wife of the president, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, joins Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak of Kwara State, the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, international partners, and other dignitaries.
I'm honored to officially flag up the maiden edition.
The First Lady says Nigeria has the highest burden of the spread of HIV in sub-Saharan Africa, particularly among the youth, women, and children.
With Nigeria having the highest burden of HIV/AIDS in sub-Saharan Africa due to the size of our population. The burden is particularly high among children, youth, women, and marginalized groups. To complement the Free to Shine campaign, I've also decided to advocate for the triple elimination of HIV/AIDS, syphilis, and hepatitis by 2030.
The governor commends the First Lady for championing the campaign to end new infections in children and ensure that mothers stay alive. He pledges the support of the Nigerian Governors Forum to ensure that people living with HIV receive the care they need to live healthy, productive lives.
3 days ago, we received reports about a significant shift in global HIV policies and funding. This change will have far-reaching effects in Africa, and we must act swiftly to minimize the impact on millions of Africans living with HIV. We must adjust our policies, strengthen our partnership, and unite to prevent new infections to save lives.
Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, said the Tinubu administration has spent a lot of money on testing and treatment for many Nigerians who are suffering from HIV/AIDS, syphilis, and hepatitis.
And we thank all the various partners who have contributed under the government's leadership to achieving the success that we have seen. And U.S. government in particular has spent tremendous amounts of resources in contributing to testing and to care for many Nigerians who will otherwise not be treated.
The Free to Shine campaign launch is meant to create awareness on the need to end the spread of HIV/AIDS and syphilis in the country. Forums such as these are expected to help harness the political commitment needed for a comprehensive response.
In what appears to be another step towards renewable energy sufficiency, the federal government today performed a groundbreaking ceremony for 5 mini LNG plants in Agrochemical in Kogi State. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Epo, who represented President Bola Tinubu at the ceremony, says the project, which is being developed, is between NNPC and various industry players, and it has a combined capacity of 84.5 million standard cubic feet gas per day with a $500 million investment. He also went on to say the plants will produce condensate, LNG, LPG, and CNG, thereby increasing gas availability in Nigeria.
This large expanse of land measuring 30 hectares has just been acquired by the federal government in Agrochemical, Kogi State, for the development of a small-scale LNG project designed to process gas purchased from upstream producers. Some critical stakeholders in the industry, top management of the NNPCL, the Minister of State Gas, the host governor, lawmakers and guests are at this location to witness the groundbreaking for not just this plant, but 4 more all around this cluster. Speaking of the essence of these 5 mini LNG plants, the GCONMPCL is quick to put on record that this isn't just an exercise for optics, but a project that already has the boxes ticked from concept to completion.
I confirm to you that this is not just groundbreaking. Sometimes people have this impression that groundbreaking, you come, talk grammar and go. My colleague, Uzoma, has said that actually equipment for this location is already on ground at the ports and being cleared for delivery to this location. So we have very clear line of sight around delivery dates for all the 5 projects, and they will all be completed on schedule and as agreed with our partners.
Predictably, Kogi is hosting the plant and sure should benefit first from its operation.
As the #1 marketer of our destiny, as the most preferred and most endowed investment destination, I am pleased to note that the whole community have expressed their readiness to provide peaceful and cooperative environment to ensure the safety and success of this investment. The Kogi State government, in collaboration with conventional and local security agencies, has implemented robust measures to safeguard this massive investment, ensuring a secure and thriving atmosphere for all stakeholders.
Conveying President Bola Tinubu's huge stake, the Minister of State Gas says the project is important in Nigeria's energy strategy, a dual approach strategy of energy development by leveraging international partnerships for renewable energy while also optimizing domestic gas reserves.
The magnitude of this ceremony, breaking ground for 5 mini LNG in one day, is truly historic and signifies the seriousness of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under the able leadership of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, who attaches more in deepening gas utilization in our country from the abundant gas resources. To the glory of God, we are here to lay this foundation. This project that the foundation is being laid today will be completed on schedule.
So why the choice of Ajakuta for these 5 mini LNG plants? Just to help you understand what it means, there's a rectitude of gas pipeline traversing this area, traveling all the way to the northern part of the country. A lot of people have asked where infrastructures do that exist. How do you have CNG? How do you have CNG filling stations? How do you have reticulation centers? So this will serve as a major hub of supply, and so you can be assured that from these 5 plants, LNG will be produced, CNG will be produced, and LPG will be produced. And this is what the federal government hopes will align and aligns very strongly with its decade of gas and making for cheap fuel, which is the CNG, as a fuel of choice for transportation. From Ajakuta in Kogi State, Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Well, from the energy sector, we turn our attention to politics as we head over to our Abuja studios now for more on the news at 10 with Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Over to you, Maokwe.
Hello, and indeed, party politics leads the pack here as the National Reconciliation Committee of the People's Democratic Party today met with the party's governors and key stakeholders from the Northeast region in a bid to resolve internal conflict and re-establish a formidable force ahead of the 2027 general elections. Acting National Chairman of the party, Umar Damagum, assured party members that he would not serve the personal interests of any individual within the party. Our correspondent, Hajara Aliyu, reports.
Bauchi State is hosting 2 separate key meetings of the People's Democratic Party, the National Reconciliation Committee meeting and the PDP Northeast Zonal Caucus meeting. Prominent attendees include the governors of Bauchi, Adamawa and Taraba states, as well as the acting national chairman of the party. Former Osun State Governor Olagunsoye Oyinlola is leading the reconciliation team in discussing the challenges facing the party and strategies for rebuilding the party ahead of the 2027 general election.
We have adopted a model
that the zonal chairman, together with the chairman of the states within the Northeast, we make up briefs for the Reconciliation Committee, which we will study and know exactly where the intervention of the Reconciliation Committee will occur. Then we'll be able to invite.
In response, Governor Fintiri assures that the Northeast region harbors minimal discord, emphasizing that their efforts extend beyond reconciliation to include thorough re-strategizing process.
We're not stopping here by taking too much time on reconciliation. We're already working ahead to see that we capture power for the good people of this country in 2027. Because Nigeria is bleeding. We are suffering. There is too much anger. The economic policy is still is not working.
The party leaders later converged for the Northeast Zonal Caucus meeting. The meeting discusses issues affecting the party, committing to confront the challenges.
We'll work with the National Assembly to minimize all those divisive tendencies, because our own is the chairman there. We'll make sure we bring the kind of initiatives that will not give the opportunity to those detractors trying to lead the party.
I want to assure members that this chairman here is not here to do any personal bidding of anybody. Nobody is above this party. We'll give you all the accolades and all the support, but when we see you are draining, then we will part ways with you. I want to give this commitment to all of you to assure you that the party is more than an individual.
The caucus resolves to swap leadership positions in the Northeast and implement microzoning to enhance internal cohesion. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Still ahead, Federal Inland Revenue Service sets a revenue target of 25.2 trillion naira for the year 2025. That's in business news. Do join us again. Welcome back. We'll continue with legal matters now, where the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has affirmed the proscription of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, as a terrorist organization. In a unanimous decision by a three-member panel led by Justice Hama Barka, the appellate court affirmed the judgment of the Federal High Court in Abuja, which outlawed IPOB. The court held that it found no reason to set aside the order the federal government got against the group. According to the court, the federal government acted lawfully by prescribing the organization whose activities threatened the nation's security and continued existence. It resolved all the issues against IPOB and dismissed its appeal for want of merit. The late former Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice Abdul Kafarati, had in a ruling he delivered on September 15, 2017, outlawed the activities of the IPOB in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted bail to the convener of #RevolutionNow movement, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, to the tune of 10 million naira and one surety in like sum. Justice Musa Liman granted the bail while ruling on the bail application brought before the court. In his ruling, the trial judge held that the surety must be a responsible individual with a landed property valued in like sum. Justice Liman also held that the surety is expected to deposit the original document of landed property and a passport photograph to the registrar of the court, while ordering Mr. Sowore to deposit his international passport also with the registrar of the court. The court, however, gave Mr. Sowore 24 hours to perfect the bail conditions or be remanded in police custody till he perfects his bail. And with more from the courts now, Justice Chinyere Nwechanu of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, Kuchiako in Kuje, has rescheduled the arraignment of the former Executive Secretary of the National Health Insurance Scheme, Professor Usman Yusuf, to February the 3rd this year. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, had on Wednesday, January 29, arrested Professor Yusuf and brought him before the court today for arraignment on allegations of fraud. The arraignment was, however, moved to Monday to allow for amendment of the charges. Although the defense counsel, Dr. Haruna, who held brief for the lead defense counsel, made an application for bail, it was turned down by the court on account of the defendant's deferred arraignment. And that's all from Abuja. It's back now to you, Anne, for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you very much, Malwe. Nations are not made by accident. Neither are they produced by men or women who play its wealth, but by visionary and selfless leaders. And that's the view of the former Minister of Information, Frank Nweke Jr., at the launch of 2 books authored by Kome Otobo and Tomi Wright. Our correspondent Bukola Koka reports.
We must all get a copy of this book.
2 sisters producing profound themes that find expression in 2 books launched on the same day.
Are we inspired to get copies?
Kome Otobo and Tomi Wright have navigated personal challenges from the fatal to the sublime to publishing The Healthy Perfectionist and Wheels of Imagination.
What I would like to encourage you to do.
Their creative enterprise culminates in this assembly of family, friends, and other lovers of literary distinction who have come to appreciate their effort.
She gives us a very good comparison in Land of Steps that when you're in the West, you don't even think about being differently able because everything is there for you to participate like everybody else. You can go to the museum, you can get on the bus, you can do anything without having any assistance with you. In Nigeria, you must have somebody to carry you.
The reviewers described the thematic forms and presentation of the 2 books in glowing terms.
It also uses comprehensive data and historical evidence to incisively demonstrate how perfectionism, that is, effort to achieve efficient outcomes,
that Tomi Wright, that is our Ifena, lines ourselves up with postmodernist writers.
So we're just going to unveil it with a flourish, okay?
An insightful review turns out to be a healthy precursor to a fulfilling unveiling and surprising amount of goodwill from guests. What unique nurture did Kome and Tomi, who is fondly called Efena, receive that has produced prolific writers in them?
From when they were born, I was reading to them. But I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what impact it will have. I liked books, and I just read, especially Kome, Efena, and their brother, Odafe. So Efena was walking, running. She used to run in the park. She loved running, walking and doing all this dancing, going to clubs. Age 27, she has a catastrophic accident, as Shepherd Center will call it, that changed the trajectory of her life completely.
For his part, the co-chair of the book launch draws a parallel in the themes of the sibling writers with the institutional failure in the country, even as it calls the political class to action.
The countries that we often reference, right, were built by a political elite, a leadership that understood what it meant to serve. Their concern was about the place of their people and their country under the sun.
The sibling authors provide a backstory to their inspiration.
I got to a point where I realized that I had to change the way I saw the world. I had to find a way of balancing my need for control with balancing understanding that other people are living their lives in a different way than me, and we have to find a way to come together.
On days where I look at the world and I'm just like, I'm tired, I'm fed up, I don't want to do anything. It allowed me to get out of my head and be like, okay, so what do I want to do? How can I impact someone's life, and that's how the book kind of came about.
Kome and Tomi's books offer the reader an invitation to draw strength from their examples of resilience in the face of adversity and compassion, knowing that a demand of extreme standards from ourselves and others can be both positive and harmful. Bukola Koka, Channels Television News.
The Duchess International Hospital has hosted this year's edition of her Students' Career Fair. According to the Chief Executive Officer of the hospital, Dr. Tukumbo Shitabe, beyond providing cutting-edge healthcare services, the health facility has a responsibility to impact its community.
This is the second edition of the Students' Career Fair for Duchess International Hospital, and students from some secondary schools in Lagos are in attendance.
And have a view of what they do. There's some that you can actually.
They were first intimated about the reason they are here and the importance of understanding the foundation of pursuing a medical career.
We've invited you to come and see what you want to become, to make up your mind, to have an experience. You're going to go around all the boats one by one, and please feel free to ask questions. This is also our way of giving back to the society.
What do you intend to be in the future? Are you coming to the medical line? Are you going to other aspects of your career? In coming to the medical line from the secondary school level, which I believe most of you are, you have to be in science classes.
After the welcome comments, it's time to interact with experts on various facets of the medical profession. These dialogue, driven by the students' curiosity and a passion to explain different medical practices by the experts, formed an important part of the event. The day provided the secondary school students with a unique opportunity to engage with medical professionals, which is the main reason for the fair.
A hospital like this, of course, must take its place, not just the hospital, but as an organization, but ultimately to understand that it has responsibilities as an institution. And that means getting close to the community, getting close to the young people who will build the future of this country and playing its part.
Responses from some of the students indicate that the fair, second in the series, is already yielding the right results.
Coming to Duchess has really made me understand what wide scope the world of medicine is. Like, it's not just coming to the physician and just telling them what's wrong and they'll give you the medicine and you go. It requires so many stages of administration and careful concentration.
Before I came here, I always saw medicine like people were just saving lives. I always thought only one person would do it. But when I came here, I saw that there are like different branches and not only one person can do it.
When we came, we were taught many things like anesthesia. We met different experts in the field of we met opticians, pediatricians, and so on.
Attendees of this year's Duchess Hospital Students' Career Fair had the rare chance to learn about the medical environment and gained a deeper understanding of the Duchess' holistic and best-in-class approach to delivering its affordable healthcare objectives.
The federal government and Ogun State government have launched a $12 million agrochemical plant, Springfield Agro Crop Protection Chemical Plant in Shagamu, Ogun State.
For agriculture and food security in Ogun State.
It's a rewarding and fulfilling day for all present, including the country's Vice President, Kashim Shettima, who is represented by the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, the Ogun State Deputy Governor, National Assembly members, staff of the company, members of the Ogun State Executive Council, and the investing partner.
We have rolled out this production facility, which consists of 3 lines of production with an annual capacity in the first phase of 30 million liters. As has been mentioned before, we have invested so far $12 million in the plant.
The multi-billion-naira agrochemical plant appears to be commencing operations on a bright note, with a commendation from the country's regulatory agency for fulfilling all 6 regulatory requirements for agricultural chemical production.
After
a thorough assessment, I am pleased to state that the Springfield Nigeria Limited has demonstrated compliance with the key regulatory requirements, and as a result, NAFDAC has issued a letter of recognition affirming the facility's suitability, the competency of its personnel, and the adequacy of its equipment for agrochemical production.
Governor Dakwa Abiodun, who is represented by his deputy, Mrs. Salako Oyedele, seized the occasion to assure investors of his administration's commitment towards the ease of doing business framework that will ensure that their businesses thrive.
This plant, with an annual production capacity, we have been told, of 30 million liters of herbicides and insecticides, is a strong demonstration of confidence in the local economy and a commitment to not only enhancing local capacity, but reducing our dependency on imported agrochemicals, which will in turn save foreign exchange, boost industrialization, and support food security efforts nationwide.
On his part, Nigeria's vice president, who's also represented, commends Springfield for its efforts, which he says aligns with the federal government's agenda for food security.
This initiative is aimed at significantly increasing agricultural production, and it is a clear demonstration of the government's unwavering commitment to supporting and creating an enabling environment for all stakeholders in the agricultural sector.
The speech is over and done with. The Minister of State for Agriculture, the state's deputy governor, and other distinguished personalities joined the minister to cut the ribbon, signifying the commissioning of the project and a tour of the facilities.
Welcome to Business News. We begin with the Federal Inland Revenue Service, which has set a revenue target of 25.2 trillion naira for the year 2025. The executive chairman of the service, Mr. Zach Adedeji, made this known during a management retreat in Abuja. He adds that 19.4 trillion naira was targeted in 2024, and the service generated 21.6 trillion naira within the year. Now we head straight to the stock market, where we've seen bullish sentiments being sustained in today's trading session as investors took advantage of low prices in Dangote Cement. Laddie Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The local voice continued in the green from gains yesterday. If you look at the all-share index, that's up 0.19%, still maintaining the 104,000 level. That's for the all-share index. Let's get a quick check on the sectoral performance. Now we see consumer goods counter. That's a lone gainer with the sectors that we tracked today up 0.90%, with the likes of Northern Nigeria flour mills getting investor attention. You know, the company also put out its financial scorecard with pre-tax profit hitting about 2.3 billion naira. Total revenue for the period ending December 31st, 2024, that was up about 35.40%. So I guess that got investor interest there. Oil and gas, big 1.19% drop, with the likes of Iredell losing today in the share price. All right, let's look at the market move. We're seeing someone's making a comeback here. Dangote Cement with a 2.3% rise, and that allowed the bulls remain.
That's it on business. It's back to the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Will. Let's now join Simon Pizzo with international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Officials say no one is believed to have survived after a plane and helicopter crashed in mid-air over Washington, D.C.'s Potomac River. 64 people were on the American Airlines flight and 3 on the military helicopter when the aircraft collided over Ronald Reagan National Airport.
Did you see that? 476. American 3130, go around, turn left end 250, climb maintain 3000.
Here, the moment, air traffic controllers appear to try and persuade one of the aircraft to change its course.
Did you see that? 476. American 3130, go around, turn left end 250, climb maintain 3000.
Okay, left heading 350, 3000,
Investigators are focusing on why the helicopter was flying at that location. Earlier, US President Donald Trump also questioned why the helicopter didn't go up or down or turn.
Before 9 p.m. last night, an American Airlines regional jet carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew collided with an Army Black Hawk helicopter carrying 3 military service members over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., while on final approach to Reagan National Airport. Both aircraft crashed instantly and were immediately submerged into the icy waters of the Potomac. Real tragedy. The massive search and rescue mission was underway throughout the night, leveraging every asset at our disposal, and I have to say the local, state, federal, military, including the United States Coast Guard in particular, they've done a phenomenal job.
Israel has delayed the release of more than 100 Palestinian prisoners after hostages were released in chaotic scenes in Gaza. 7 hostages, 2 Israelis and 5 Thais, were released in Khan Yunis earlier as hundreds of people swarmed around the Red Cross convoy. Mr. Netanyahu's office said the delay will be in place until the safe exit of our hostages is guaranteed in the next few days. Israel is demanding that mediators achieve this. 110 Palestinian prisoners were set to be freed after the return of Israeli hostages. Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi has vowed to restore government authority in the east, where Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have seized control of the city of Goma and are reportedly advancing south to take more territory. In a televised address to the nation, he said a vigorous and coordinated response against what he called terrorists was underway and criticized the international community for inaction and not doing enough in the wake of the escalating security crisis. The weeks-long offensive by the rebels has prompted warnings of a looming humanitarian crisis and growing international pressure to end the fighting. Former President Jacob Zuma's daughter, Dudzile Zuma Sambudla, has been released on a warning by the Durban Magistrates Court. Zuma Sambudla had been charged under the Protection of Constitutional Democracy Against Terrorism and Related Activities Act and incitement to commit violence relating to unrest in 2021. A controversial figure in her own right, Zuma Sambudla was accused of sharing incendiary social media posts that fueled civil unrest. And the funeral of John Prescott, the former Labour Deputy Prime Minister, has taken place at Hull Minster. Tony Blair gave a eulogy to his personal friend, praising his greatness of courage and character. Gordon Brown also spoke while Sir Keir Starmer gave a reading. Mr. Prescott was a major figure in Labour politics. A former trade union activist, he served in Mr. Blair's government for 10 years. Made particularly famous for punching a protester who threw an egg at him, he died peacefully on the 20th of November, aged 86, at his care home where he had been living with Alzheimer's. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Still in stories outside our shores, we have an update on the Gaza ceasefire deal. 110 Palestinian prisoners have now been released from Israeli jails as part of that deal. And we head to sports now with Chris Illems.
All right, thank you, Anne. And there's a sports news. Heartland of Owerri picked an away point against the Imba International in Aba in March Day 21. Southeast clash of the Nigeria Premier Football League played earlier today. Mohamed Ibrahim 90th minute penalty handed Katsina United a 1-0 win over Plateau United. Niger Tornadoes beat Kwara United 2-1 in another March Day 21 clash. And Bayern Leverkusen director of sport has confirmed Super Eagles forward Victor Boniface is back in training at the club after the deal to join Al Nasri was called off. Boniface was close to joining the Saudi Arabia club for a reported fee of over 60 million euros and even passed the medical screenings carried out. But the club, however, cancelled the deal on Wednesday and opted to sign Aston Villa and Colombia striker John Duran instead. And that's it on sports. Back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. Former Senate President Pius today said that it is time to have another national dialogue in the country to address issues of instability. Senator Anyim, who was speaking at the forum in the nation's capital, said apart from the Constitutional Conference of 2006 and the 2014 confab, no serious effort has been made to bring all the various groups in the country together to discuss the way forward. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawudu. Good night.